My name is Sarah Green, 42 years old, corporate investigator. For over a decade, I've dedicated my life to deciphering corporate mysteries, peeling back layers of deception that others would rather leave undisturbed. I've learned to read between the lines, grasping at the tendrils of truth that lie just beneath the surface of polished business reports and reassuring smiles. But even the most astute investigator can become ensnared in their own web of illusions. It was an ordinary Tuesday morning when the first cracks in my seemingly perfect life with James began to appear. As I reviewed our joint finances, a nagging feeling gnawed at my insides. The numbers didn't align. An outgoing payment to a vendor I didn't recognize caught my attention. A hefty sum, with no underlying invoices to explain the disbursement. I leaned closer to the screen, each line of the spreadsheet driving a wedge of doubt deep into my chest. James had always been charismatic, smooth-talking, with a certain charm that could sell ice to Eskimos. He held the reins at his company with an iron fist. Yet I had never questioned whether he was hiding something from me, not until now. My analytical mind quickly took charge, forcing my emotions aside. Stay focused, I told myself, acknowledging the meticulousness that had led me to this moment of realization. What had seemed like routine transactions began to feel like the signs of an elaborate deception. I shifted in my seat, grappling with a whirlwind of thoughts. How had I let this happen? Was I so caught up in my work that I had neglected the signs flashing before me? My instincts screamed at me, yet I couldn't pinpoint exactly what was amiss. I remembered the late-night meetings, the secretive phone calls, the subtle shifts in his mood. Each moment replayed in my mind like a movie I had been too engrossed in to understand. This is just one discrepancy, I muttered, attempting to rationalize my findings. Still, I felt an urgency mounting within me. I recalled something my mentor once told me. In the game of power, the hidden player holds the greatest trump. James was a master manipulator. Had he made me his unwitting pawn in a game I didn't even know we were playing? I took a deep breath and leaned back in my chair, wrestling with the impending turmoil that filled the silence of my home office. To get to the bottom of this, I needed to dig deeper, no turning back. For the first time since this investigation began, I sensed that the stakes were personal. This was more than satisfying my professional curiosity. It was about uncovering the truth hidden behind the facade of my marriage. With a steely resolve, I began to compile the evidence I had, a trail of breadcrumbs leading me down a dark path. I would not only uncover James's betrayal, but also cause him to reckon with the shadow he had cast over my life. I opened a new document, composed my thoughts, and made a plan. I would dissect each odd transaction, cross-reference data, and carefully observe his interactions. For now, I would watch, wait, and prepare for the looming confrontation that must inevitably come. There, amidst the chaos of fear and uncertainty, I felt the first spark of determination. The calm before the storm. I knew I had to hold on to this clarity. Deception was a game I was determined to play, and I intended to win. As I delved deeper into the shadows of my marriage, memories of my early years with James surfaced, revealing the subtleties of his manipulative nature that I had, until now, chosen to overlook. I still recalled the day we met at a networking event, a casual affair that soon spiraled into a whirlwind romance. He was ambitious, his charisma electrifying. I was captivated by his dreams and the way he spoke with conviction. Little did I know that the very ambition that drew me to him hid a darker side. In those initial years, I admired how he commanded the room, never backing down from a challenge. He could crush competitors with ease, much like he had crushed any doubts I had about our future. I believed it was all for us, that I was part of his vision for success. But as time rolled on, I began to realize that I was becoming an afterthought in his world, an accessory to his burgeoning empire. The late nights became routine. I often found myself waiting for him, counting the hours as they dragged by. He would return home, disheveled and drenched in the scent of whiskey and cheap perfume, a hollow smile cutting across his face. Had to stay late at the office, he'd say, waving off my concerns. I wanted to believe him, but I felt a depressingly familiar knot form in my stomach. Each excuse felt rehearsed, stretching my trust thin. As an investigator, I had always honed my skills to uncover truths beneath layers of deception, Yet here I was, enmeshed in my own blind spot. The signs had always been there. Corporate discrepancies, odd financial transactions, whispers in the hallways, but I had suppressed my instincts, attributing them to paranoia or stress. Now, armed with newfound clarity and simmering resentment, I vowed to peel back the layers of James's facade. I began to gather evidence. I encrypted a series of emails, documented his calendar, and tracked his unusual meetings, each piece like a puzzle falling into place. I found myself haunted by the name Laura Chong, an ambitious employee far too eager to win his approval. My gut twisted with each discovery, feelings of jealousy intermingling with a burning need for truth. Was I overreacting? Or was I just accepting the inevitable betrayal looming over me? Late nights turned into early mornings, my focus laser-sharp on unearthing James's secrets. The pieces coalesced into a chilling picture, exposing the interconnected lies between him, Laura, and their questionable corporate dealings. My heart raced as I sifted through the digital correspondence. Their flirtations saturated with double meanings, each word a dagger to my heart. The evidence declared their deceit in bold letter. Yet I had to remind myself that this was about reclaiming my life. An encounter with an ally in HR gave me a moment's pause. "You need to be cautious, Sarah," she urged. "Corporate politics can be perilous." Her warning stung, the weight of the truth pressing against my chest. Yet I knew I couldn't let fear deter me. I had a mission to complete, and I wouldn't let him or anyone else prevent me from uncovering the depth of their betrayal. Doubt nevertheless wove through my mind like an insidious vine. What if I was wrong? Was I really ready to shatter my carefully constructed world? The tension I felt echoed through countless sleepless nights. But each time I sat at my desk, determination surged. I wouldn't allow my heart's betrayal to rob me of the victory I sought. Days morphed into weeks as I slipped deeper into this web of lies. I pictured the confrontation that would expose James for the man he truly was, and with every piece of evidence I collected, my resolve solidified. I would no longer be the passive observer in this intricately spun narrative. I would seize the helm and direct this tale toward a conclusion that favored none but myself. As I prepared to pull back the curtain, the pieces were in place. In the quiet of night, the resolution settled in my bones. I would confront James both professionally and personally, forcing him to reckon with the deception that had marred not only our marriage but also his very corporate empire. My pulse quickened with the excitement of unveiling secrets that had crept into my life uninvited. Steeling myself for the inevitable storm ahead, clarity emerged from the chaos. This would not just be about uncovering James's manipulation. It would be my moment of empowerment, breaking free from the chains I had allowed him to place upon me for so long. In this game of deception, there was no more room for a pawn. I was ready to claim my rightful position on the board. The morning of our confrontation arrived, filled with a tension that felt almost tangible. I struggled to channel my brewing anger and uncertainty into an empowering force. Today, I needed to confront James, not just as his wife, but as an investigator armed with irrefutable evidence. I could not let my emotions overpower the mission I had set for myself. As I prepared in front of the mirror, I practiced my steady demeanor. I dressed purposefully, willing confidence to radiate from me. No more tears or passive acceptance. I was ready to dismantle the web of lies he had spun around us. The drive to the office felt surreal. A mix of dread and excitement coiled within me. I had to stay calm. I envisioned how I would expose the truth hidden beneath his deceitful words. The carefully curated image he projected was about to be shattered, and I needed to ensure he wouldn't twist things to his advantage. Entering his office, I immediately felt the suffocating air thick with deceit and pretense. His accolades decorated the walls, signs of his carefully cultivated success. But today, those symbols felt hollow against the reality I was about to unleash. "Sarah, you look serious," he remarked, an unease creeping into his voice. A fleeting smile crossed his lips before confusion took over. "James, we need to talk," I replied, my voice steady despite the storm within me. "It's time we faced the reality of your choices." His brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" He feigned innocence, yet I could sense the tension building in him. I leaned in, determined to confront him with evidence. The emails, the meetings with Laura, This is your life now, not just some casual affair. I laid my findings before him, each detail like carving through stone. That's ridiculous, he fired back, the defensive edge in his voice making it clear he did not expect this confrontation. You're just overreacting. His attempt to downplay my evidence only emboldened my resolve. No, I'm not overreacting, I said firmly. You've deceived me for long enough. Here's proof of it all. I pointed to the screen displaying their correspondence, which was laced with innuendo and intimate secrets. As the weight of the evidence settled around him, I caught a glimpse of panic shadowing his previously confident facade. I had never seen such vulnerability from him. You need to calm down, Sarah. You're accusing me without any basis. Accusing? No, I'm confronting you with facts. You've prioritized your deceit over our marriage. I shot back, letting my building frustration seep into my words. James stood up, agitated, moving back and forth, as if searching for an escape. This could destroy me. Do you understand? His panic turned into anger, but his defensiveness was a sign that I was striking the right chords. I understand that you've created this situation. You have a choice. Own up to it and stop hiding behind lies. The intensity of the moment hung in the balance, and it gave me the clarity I needed. The door swung open and Laura stepped inside, her eyes shifting uncomfortably between us. What's happening here? She asked, sensing the charged atmosphere. Perfect timing, I snapped. You should hear this too. I revealed the evidence, each detail exposing the truth of their entanglement. Laura's reaction morphed from confusion to shock, mirroring the disbelief on James's face. James struggled to maintain a semblance of control. This is none of your business, Laura, he barked, frustration lacing his words. I could feel the power of the moment shifting. It is now, I replied. This web of deceit has tangled us all, and it's time for the truth. Laura's eyes widened as the reality hit her. I didn't know, she murmured, looking at him as if she was seeing a stranger standing before her. The confrontation reached an apex. James's carefully maintained image was crumbling. The stakes of his choices were now bare. I looked at him, hoping he would realize the depth of his actions and what he stood to lose. Not just the business, but the core of our lives. This stops today, I asserted, my voice steady. You can choose honesty, or you can continue to dig this hole deeper. But know that I'm done being a mere pawn in your game. James looked cornered as I held his gaze. For once, I was not afraid. The clarity of this moment surged through me like a fire, igniting a new purpose. Whatever this confrontation led to, I would emerge vindicated. I realized it was not just about exposing his betrayal. It was about reclaiming my life, my autonomy, and the power that had long been stripped from me. Now what happens next? I pressed, feeling the gravity of my words wash over him. He could either reveal his true self or face the consequences head-on. I would not back down. I was ready to seize this moment to define my path forward, unchained from the shadows he had cast over me for too long. The future awaited me, and I had no intention of going back. The silence that followed felt like a thick fog settling around us. James, once so full of bravado, now seemed to shrink under the weight of the confrontation. I could see the gears in his mind turning furiously as he processed my challenge. His eyes darted nervously between Laura and me, searching for an escape route from the trap that had sprung around him. Sarah, you don't know what you're doing, he finally stammered, his usual confidence washed away in an ocean of desperation. You're making a big mistake. Am I? I cut him off, my voice unwavering. Because from where I stand, it looks like you've already made plenty of them. This isn't just about you anymore. You've hurt more than just me, this affects everyone involved. Laura remained quiet, her expression shifting from shock to a growing sense of betrayal. I could see the flicker of realization lighting a fire in her eyes. I couldn't help but wonder what she would do with this new knowledge. Would she side with him out of loyalty, or would she see the truth and recognize the manipulation? Sarah, James attempted once more, his voice losing its edge. You're overreacting. We've built our lives together. Let's talk about this calmly. Calmly. I barked a laugh, the sound harsh in the tense air. You think after what you've done that I could ever be calm again? You've built your life on lies, and you expect me to extend you the courtesy of a calm discussion? You've got to be joking. With a deep breath, I decided it was time to press harder, to shatter the remnants of his control. I stepped closer, forcing him to confront the reality he had created. You owe me the truth, I declared. Not just for me, but for Laura too. For all the lives you've toyed with in this sick game. Laura's eyes burned with intensity as she turned to James. What's going on, really? You need to tell me the truth now. Don't keep hiding behind your lies. He shifted nervously, running a hand through his hair, and for a moment, I thought I saw a flicker of guilt. But his defenses quickly returned. It's not that simple, he stuttered. No, it is simple, I interrupted, my frustration boiling over. You either take responsibility for your actions, or you continue to pretend this never happened. You've used us both to get ahead, and we deserve so much more than that. James faltered, glancing between Laura and me. The facade of control began to crack completely. I didn't want to hurt either of you, he blurted, the facade of confidence melting away like wax under a flame. I thought I could manage it all. I thought. That's just it, isn't it? I pressed. You thought. You never stopped to consider the people impacted by your choices. You turned this into a game, and now you're losing. You can't manipulate us any longer. James took a step back, his expression a mix of anger and confusion. You don't know the half of it. I've worked hard. I had to do what I did to survive in this cutthroat world. You're making this personal. Hard work isn't an excuse for betrayal, James, I replied coldly. You had a choice every step of the way. You chose ambition over loyalty. And while you might be able to hide behind your lies for a while, the truth has a way of creeping up on you. Realizing the ground was slipping beneath him, James finally found his footing enough to try another strategy. You think you're so righteous? What would you have done? Just sit back and let life hand you things? I didn't betray you. I just made a different choice. Laura, who had been silently absorbing the exchange, spoke up, her voice edged with newfound empowerment. But you didn't just make a different choice for yourself, James. You involved us. You turned us all into collateral damage in your quest for success. The reality of her words hung in the air. It was the type of truth that cut through the noise, demanding attention. James stood there, his face pale, the mask slipping as he recognized the fractures forming in his once solid universe. Maybe I can fix this, he murmured, almost to himself. Maybe this isn't over yet. No more games, James, I asserted, my voice gaining strength. There's no fixing it without honesty. You need to own everything. Your actions, your decisions. This is about responsibility now. James looked at Laura, perhaps seeing her for the first time. The real person, not just a pawn in his game. I never meant to hurt you, he finally admitted, the tremor in his voice revealing genuine conflict. He was crumbling, and I could see his resolve fading. If you want to salvage what's left, you have to be brutally honest. Confront your choices, even the ones you regret. But remember, we're done shielding you from the repercussions. Laura's breathing quickened as she processed this man. This man she'd trusted and built a relationship with was no longer the person she believed him to be. I could almost hear her heart breaking, and in that moment, I realized that her pain mirrored my own. James, she began, her voice trembling. If you really care about us, it's time to show it. Enough with the lies. If you want any chance at redemption, you'll need to face this head-on. I nodded in solidarity, feeling the power of our shared resolve. The room crackled with anticipation and fear, but also with a fierce resolve that left little doubt about where the conversation would head next. What happens next, I wondered, as I looked into the abyss that was James's guilt. As the confrontation deepened, I felt the strength of my choices ripple through the air, knowing there was no turning back now. This was an inflection point for all of us, an intersection of truth and consequence. Let's start with the truth, I said, clearing my throat. This is your moment, James, to choose honesty or watch everything unravel. We deserve the truth, and you owe it to us both. In that charged environment, I stood resolute, ready for whatever lay ahead. It was time for the reckoning. The silence settled in like a heavy fog as James shifted nervously between us. He was no longer the confident man I once knew. He was a figure caught in the scrutiny of his own betrayal. His eyes darted back and forth, searching for an escape, but there was none to be found. Look, I know I haven't been completely honest, he began, his voice shaking slightly, but… No more excuses, James. I interrupted, my voice firm. You need to lay everything out on the table. No more evasion or half-truths. This isn't about self-preservation anymore. His gaze dropped to the floor, the weight of his guilt pressing down on him. I felt a flare of vindication. Maybe, just maybe, his resolve was finally crumbling under the scrutiny of truth. I made mistakes, okay? His admission tumbled out, barely coherent, as he struggled to face the reality of his actions. It started with work, and then, there was Laura. The tension in the air was palpable. I exchanged glances with Laura, whose eyes were wide with disbelief and hurt. She needed the full truth. We both did. What do you mean by, there was Laura? I pressed. What did the two of you share beyond work? He inhaled deeply, the heaviness of the moment pressing in on him. It was all innocent at first, collaborating late into the night, discussing projects. I thought we bonded over work until it became something more. I didn't mean for it to go that far. Bonded? I scoffed, the word bitter in my mouth. You let it cross a line. While I considered us partners, you were building a new relationship. I know, he replied, frustration etched on his face. I thought if I could keep it compartmentalized, it wouldn't hurt either of you. I believed I could manage everything. Manage? Laura interjected, her voice shaking but strong. You didn't just manage lives, you toyed with ours. Did you ever think about how your choices would affect me? James flinched, the weight of her words clearly landing. I thought I was doing it for the best. I didn't mean to hurt you. His voice heightened, the panic bubbling to the surface. I realized my ambition clouded my judgment, he admitted, defeated. But I didn't want to be that person. I never wanted to hurt either of you. You may not have wanted to, Laura said, her voice steadier now. But your actions say otherwise. You chose to pursue intimacy outside of our commitments. You chose to hurt us. The flicker of guilt was evident on his face, and I pressed my advantage. You have to accept responsibility. It's time to face the impact of your mistakes. I get it, he whispered, vulnerability flowing through his words. I really do. But even if I face it, the damage is done. Damage? Laura echoed, her disbelief palpable. You don't think this is just damage? You've shattered trust, and we're left piecing together our lives without the foundation we once had. You can't fix this simply by admitting guilt. Maybe not, but I can try to make it right, he said, shaky determination seeping into his voice. Trying isn't enough, I replied, my heart racing. You need to show us that you're willing to change, to confront the truth and what you've built with Laura head on. He looked towards Laura, his expression searching for empathy. I didn't plan for this to happen. I thought I could find solace in someone outside of my struggles. Solace. I cut him off, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. You were looking for fulfillment in someone else, and all you found was betrayal. You need to face that, James. I know I messed up, he continued, a defeated edge creeping in. But I thought I was trying to fill a void in my life. The palpable tension shifted as realization dawned. You have to understand that whatever void you felt isn't my responsibility to fill. I said, my voice cutting through the air. This isn't about justification. You allowed yourself to become entangled in something that affected not just you but the people who trusted you. The longer you pretend this was a simple mistake, the further you push us away. Laura spoke next, her voice firm. If you really want to salvage this, it starts with brutal honesty. With us and with yourself. You need to clarify your relationship with Laura because from where I stand, it looks like a complete breach of trust. For a moment, James's eyes filled with tears. The weight of every word he'd said before, and the reality of our situation hung heavy. I never wanted to hurt anyone, he whispered. If there's one thing I could take back. That's not the point, I replied sharply. We can't move on if you keep chasing if-onlys. You wanted to hide the truth, and that's what made it so poisonous between us. He gulped, a choked sound escaping his throat, and the silence gave way to tension. He seemed to realize that this moment was more than just words, it was a reckoning. I know I need to face the repercussions, James admitted. I'll do whatever it takes to repair this, to earn any ounce of trust back, if that's even possible. Start by being completely honest, Laura insisted. No more half-truths. You owe it to us to unpack everything. James met her gaze, visibly trembling. I have feelings for you, Laura. It grew from the connection we forged through long hours at work. But I never should have stepped over that line. Laura tensed, her eyes shimmering with a mix of anger and sadness. And what about Sarah? Did you think about her at all while you were busy having feelings for me? No, I didn't, he confessed, the shame evident on his face. I was selfish. And now? I pressed, wanting to see where this truth led. What do you want for us? The room felt electric, the air crackling with potential. If I could turn back time, I would refuse to explore those feelings with you, he replied, finally finding conviction in his voice. I truly want to amend things with Sarah and salvage what we had, if it's not already too broken. Repairing trust takes time, Laura warned, her voice softening slightly as she positioned herself to understand his perspective. First, though, you need to confront how deeply you've wounded us both. I realize that now, James said, tears forming in his eyes. I need to do better. I want to be better. Being better starts with the truth. I reminded him firmly. It may be difficult, but facing the consequences is essential. It's a long road ahead, but honesty is the first step. As the gravity of the moment pressed down on us, it became clear that there would be no magic solutions. We stood on the precipice of transformation. An opportunity to reshape our lives if we could embrace the hard truths and begin the daunting task of rebuilding. In the silence that followed, the enormity of our confrontation lived strongly between us. Everything would hinge on whether we were each ready to confront our version of the truth. It was no longer merely about James's actions. It was about us all, pushing to decide how to move forward from seasoned pain towards something resembling healing. The air was so thick with tension that it felt as if we were all holding our breath, waiting for something to snap. I could see the turmoil written across James's face, and despite the anger pulsing through me, a flicker of empathy arose. After all, we were all human, flawed and imperfect. James, I began, my voice calm but unwavering. If we're going to navigate this, we need to understand each other's perspectives honestly. You've laid bare your feelings. Now it's time to acknowledge the damage done, not just with words but through actions. He nodded slowly, visibly swallowing the weight of responsibility. I understand. This isn't just about acknowledging the hurt, it's about taking steps to make it right, if that's possible. Making it right means stepping into the pain you've caused, Laura added, her tone even more resolute than before. It's more than just saying you want to be better. You need to show it. That starts right now. I'm ready, he said hesitantly, wavering between hope and despair. I want to prove it. Then prove it, I said, my eyes piercing through him. Tell us everything, where this began, how you let it spiral, and why you're willing to change now. James took a deep breath, the enormity of our confrontation pressing in on him. I wish I could pinpoint a moment, but it just started as innocent conversation after hours. I thought there was nothing wrong in sharing a laugh or a few late nights discussing work. It felt safe, but slowly, those meetings became something else. I can't pinpoint when I started crossing lines, but I did. I could see Laura's turmoil reflected back at me. So it became a game of keeping secrets from us both? She asked, her voice a tight wire of anger and hurt. I thought I could manage it, James said, his voice wavering. I thought I could have that part of my life separate and get away with it, believing it wouldn't affect you both. But I was a fool. He ran a hand through his hair, an expression of self-loathing written across his features. I kept thinking that if I just played my cards right, it would work out in the end. I didn't realize I was setting us all up for inevitable heartbreak. And now, I pressed. Why do you want to fight for us? Is it guilt, or do you genuinely want a future? I want a future, he said, his brow knitted in frustration. I can see how I've hurt both of you. I want to be a better man, one who doesn't let ambition dictate his choices. I want to own up to my mistakes, to be the partner you both deserve. There it was, the moment that solidified our fragile coalition. The choice James had to make was crystal clear now. Being honest is just the first step, I reminded him. Actions will speak louder than these words. You need to face the repercussions of your choices if you want any chance at redemption. I understand, he replied earnestly. Whatever it takes, I'm willing to face it, and if that means cutting ties with Laura to repair what we once had, I'll do it. Laura's eyes widened, the gravity of his words hitting hard. I felt a surge of protective instinct for her, although I knew we could not shy away from honest discussion. That's a big decision, I interjected gently. You can't just decide her fate for her, especially when she has her own feelings in this mess. Of course, James replied, nodding in acknowledgement. I only meant to say I want to do whatever's necessary, even if it means losing someone I care about deeply. Wanting to change isn't enough, I countered. You need to be honest about your feelings, not just for Laura, but for me. I need to know where your heart lies. If I'm to trust you again, I cannot be left in the dark while you figure things out for yourself. James's eyes flickered, and for a moment, I saw a glimmer of realization. You're right, he said quietly. I realized my affection for Laura was based on something misplaced, a fantasy of what could have been. But it doesn't negate the bond we built together, Sarah. I love you. I still do. And it kills me that I hurt you. The admission hung in the air, wrapping around us like a thick fog. My heart raced, caught between relief and disbelief, and I felt Laura's gaze slide over to me, searching for my reaction. I need to step away from my feelings for Laura to be in this, to invest in what we had, James added, his voice growing firm again. I need to demonstrate that I can prioritize you both. My actions must reflect what I say. Proving yourself will take time, I warned gently. You will have to earn my trust again day by day. In the aftermath of this, I can't offer you a blank slate. Understood, he acknowledged, the reality washed over him like cold water. I accept that. Good, I said, firm yet empathetic. Words are simply the beginning. We will need to take this day by day. Only then will we know if we can rebuild something genuine from the ashes you've created. Laura looked torn, a manifestation of conflict on her face as she scanned between us. And what about me? She asked softly, almost pained at her own uncertainty. How do I fit into this equation? I'm still hurt. I don't know if I can simply walk away from the moments we shared. Those moments held meaning, I affirmed, my heart softening for her plight. But we all need time to heal. James's decisions put us all in this precarious place, and each of us has to reckon with our own feelings. It's time for honesty for all of us, every step of the way. I'm willing to talk openly with you both, James said, his shoulders lowering a fraction, vulnerability creeping into his bravado. Whatever boundaries you need, I can respect them. My mistakes have taught me the consequences of my actions all too well. As we stood together at this crossroads, I felt a bond forming, albeit fragile. This path wouldn't be easy, but clarity seeped through, allowing some solace amid the turmoil. We were all hurting, but we could either act in selfishness or move forward seeking genuine connection. In this charged environment, we had the opportunity to reshape our futures, not just for ourselves but for each other. It was present and raw. The decisions we made in this moment would dictate the course ahead. And while the journey may be the most challenging, there was also the potential for healing hidden in the depths of our vulnerable honesty. All right, I said steadily. Let's keep talking. Let's navigate this uncharted territory together. There's much more to unpack, and if we're brave enough to face it, perhaps we can emerge stronger, not just as individuals, but as a community facing the struggles of life together. We stepped forward into the nebulous unknown, our shared burdens weighing heavily but together, ready to confront whatever lay in store. The silence around us felt palpable, heavy with unresolved feelings and the uncertainty of our next steps. James stood with his hands buried in his pockets, a mixture of anxiety and vulnerability washing over him. It was clear he understood the gravity of the situation, yet he seemed eager to confront it. Let's take this one step at a time, I suggested, trying to ground the moment. We need to establish some boundaries and define how this conversation will unfold. It's critical that we all feel safe while we're working through our emotions. Laura nodded, reflecting a mix of apprehension and hope. I agree. We should each share how we're feeling and what we hope to achieve moving forward. I want to hear everything, James said, determination creeping into his voice. I know I caused this mess, and it's time for me to understand how you both feel. Okay, I'll start, I decided, taking a deep breath. I feel deeply betrayed. The trust one had in you has been shattered. When this all unraveled, I felt lost, my confidence and security crushed. It's a heavy burden to bear. James lowered his gaze, shame flooding his features. I can't take back what I've done, and I see now that my intentions don't matter. The hurt I caused is what counts. Laura took a moment before speaking, her eyes reflecting both sorrow and strength. It's confusing for me. The memories we shared now feel tainted. I can't dismiss them, but I'm left questioning how it all spiraled into this. It's painful to reconcile those moments with the betrayal. James nodded slowly, absorbing her words. I see that now. I thought I could compartmentalize everything, but I was wrong. I want to take ownership of what I did and work to rebuild the trust one broke. Rebuilding trust takes time, I reminded him. It's not something you can demand. You need to demonstrate your commitment through actions, not just words. I can do that, he said earnestly, but I need to know what that looks like for both of you. First and foremost, we need transparency, I replied. If you're feeling overwhelmed, you need to approach us instead of retreating into secrecy. That can no longer be part of our dynamic. I completely understand, James said. Laura, what do you need from me? She hesitated before speaking, her voice steady. I need my feelings acknowledged. I don't want to suppress my hurt while figuring this out. My emotions are valid, and I need them to be recognized. That's absolutely fair, I assured her. It's vital that we all feel comfortable expressing ourselves without fear of judgment. And I'll need you both to extend patience, James added, the sincerity evident in his tone. I might stumble along the way, and if I do, I hope you'll guide me back on track. I want to navigate this together. That's a good start, I said, feeling a bit of optimism flicker within me. We also need to check in with each other regularly. It might help prevent misunderstandings and keep open lines of communication. I'd like that, Laura agreed, her expression softening. A routine might help us process everything together. As we outlined our commitments and expectations, a sense of hope emerged, however fragile. We were still carrying the weight of our shared pain, but there was a glimmer of possibility in this moment. We're taking a crucial step, I said, feeling buoyed by our willingness to confront the truth. Navigating this path together won't be easy, but perhaps with honesty and commitment, we can unearth healing hidden beneath our vulnerabilities. As the discussion continued, the energy shifted, allowing a thread of camaraderie to weave its way through our turmoil. We recognized the potential to reshape our relationships, beyond the hurt and betrayal into something new. With that realization, we were ready to venture forth, uncertain but determined to face the challenges together. Each of us carried our burdens, yet we stood united, ready to confront what lay ahead. Even in the midst of our pain, we were forging a path toward something stronger, embracing the hard truths that would guide us forward.